Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody can hear my voice and see the presentation on the screen. Is everybody able to hear my voice? Okay. And I hope everybody from my previous session has exited and joined Chandan sir's class. I hope everybody from Chandan sir's class is only there in my current session. So, guys, today we're going to take a look at foreign expressions. I believe we had one session of foreign words before. So continuing with that, but in the forms of expressions and phrases, we'll be taking a look at some very commonly used words and expressions in day-to-day speech. But before that, there were a couple of things which happened this week. One, the board examination dates, at least for CBSE, have been announced as 4th May to 10th June, if I'm not mistaken. And some of the entrance exams which announce their dates seem to be very close to it. For example, IELTS is supposedly on 2nd May and CLAT on 9th. And in fact, the CLAT announcement on the website also came a day after the CBSE dates were announced. So the honest thing is that we have absolutely no idea whether they are going to change the date, right? We absolutely have no idea whether they are going to change the date. Although generally the belief is not to keep any entrance examinations when the board examinations are ongoing, but nothing is normal this year and we have no idea on whether these dates will be changed or not. So what we need to keep in mind is that we have to assume the worst case scenario. We will assume that the dates will remain as they are, and we have to be mentally prepared to give the entrance examination like CLAT, even the other exams very close to or even among the board exam dates. The only thing is board examinations are never conducted on a Sunday and the CLAT 9th is a Sunday. So we may have to give the examination during the board exams itself. So assuming the worst case scenario, let's prepare for that, right? Something even worse than that, CLAT may decide to advance it, although it doesn't happen, but there's nothing which prevents them from doing it because the JEE for engineering is also going to be held before the board exams, right? The Feb, March, April, May attempts, they will be mostly before the actual CBSE exams. So CLAT may very well take a decision to go along the path of JEE and hold it even before. They may decide to advance it and we can do nothing about it. So having said that, please keep following the official website of CLAT or any exam that you're giving for their announcements, right? We also do not have a direct phone line to them. They don't call us and give the advance information. We also get the same info from the websites that you do. So rather than panic and ask us, the most logical, the most intelligent thing, the most smart thing to do would be to just go to the official website and don't trust any other website, any second or third party website. Go to the official website of the exam or the college and check the dates there. Okay? Chalo. Having said that, we are going to take a look at foreign expressions today, which means we are going to test our knowledge of foreign terms which are commonly used in English. And even if we do not know these terms, at least we will learn a few of them. So without further ado, let's start with the first one. What does it mean to ad-lib something? He was very famous for ad-libbing during the presentations. If I say the CEO was famous for ad-libbing during the presentations, what does it actually mean? To ad-lib something means what? To ad-lib something means what? Yes, संस्कृति, डोंट वरी अबाउट इट. ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट पे 9th का डेट आया है एंड वो पहले 4 दिन में क्रैश होगा ही होगा, लास्ट के 10 दिन में भी क्रैश होगा ही होगा. दैट्स वाई वेट, 3 महीने का विंडो है, 3 महीने का विंडो है, कोई जल्दी नहीं. दैट्स वाई आई से डोंट पैनिक. दैट्स वाई आई ऑलवेज टेल डोंट पैनिक. कोई भी एप्लीकेशन फॉर्म एक ही दिन में नहीं होगा. पहले दिन में जाके रजिस्टर करोगे या लास्ट डे पे करोगे, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. ऑल्दो आई डोंट रेकमेंड डूइंग इट ऑन द लास्ट डे, बट वेट, आराम से जैन एंड फेब में करेंगे, कोई जल्दी नहीं है. चलो, टू एड लिब, इट कम्स फ्रॉम लैटिन and it literally means improvised. Improvised means something which is made up on the spot, right? Without prior preparation. So when the CEO was suddenly called in front of the board, he had to ad-lib the entire presentation. Means he had to make up the entire presentation on the spot. He had to speak extempore without any preparation. For those of you who follow comedy, there's a type of comedy called improv comedy. Improv stands for improvisation. It means there is no rehearsal. You don't know what you're going to do. On the spot आपको टॉपिक दिया जाता है और उस पर आप परफॉर्मेंस देते हो. In speeches, it is known as extempore, right? So that is improv or improvisation, which means on the spot you have to create it and present it. You don't have time to prepare for it. So to ad lib something means to do something improvised on the spot. Manush, yeah, दुनिया में सारे words, there are thousands and lakhs of words in this world. बुक में से ही वर्ड पढ़ाऊंगा तो एक्स्ट्रा नॉलेज कुछ नहीं होगा. जो बुक में है वो तो ऑलरेडी आपके पास है. सो मेनी वर्ड्स फ्रॉम आउटसाइड आई एम गोइंग टू टीच, राइट. बुक में ही सारे वर्ड्स होते तो मेरे पढ़ाने का कोई मतलब ही नहीं है. दैट्स व्हाई बुक्स तो यू कैन लर्न. दिस इज ऑल एक्स्ट्रा. सम ऑफ देम मे बी इन द बुक, सम ऑफ देम मे नॉट बी, राइट. बिकॉज फॉरगेट द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ सिलेबस के बुक में से ही आएगा. स्कूल के बच्चों के लिए वो होता था. स्टार्टिंग इन एंट्रेंस एग्जाम्स एंड कॉलेजेस देयर इज नो सच थिंग एज फिक्स्ड सिलेबस के बुक में से ही आएगा. बुक के बाहर का भी आपको पता होना चाहिए. दैट्स व्हाई आई एम डूइंग ऑल दिस एक्स्ट्रा स्टफ. ओके, नाउ एड हॉक, आई एम श्योर ये शायद बुक में होगा. व्हाट डज एड हॉक मीन? द committee was the ad hoc committee was responsible for managing the event. An ad hoc committee was constituted to manage the event. So what does it mean, ad hoc? Ad hoc in Latin literally means for a particular purpose. So only for a specific thing you create it, and after the purpose is over it no longer exists, right? It's not like a long permanent body. It's a temporary thing which is created only for a specific thing. For example, अगर let us say कि शहर में सुनामी आ गई, तो उस सुनामी से फाइट करने के लिए एक स्पेशल कमिटी बनाई जाती है. सुनामी के साथ हैंडलिंग हो गया तो वो कमिटी खत्म, राइट. सिर्फ एक स्पेसिफिक चीज के लिए किसी ग्रुप को बनाया जाता है. Such a thing is known as an ad hoc thing. So I was appointed the ad hoc leader of the group. Means सिर्फ उस पर्टिकुलर एक्टिविटी के लिए मुझे लीडर चुना गया. एक्टिविटी खत्म, मेरी लीडरशिप खत्म. सो एड हॉक फ्रॉम लैटिन मीन्स फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर पर्पस. दिस इज समथिंग विच आई एम श्योर मेनी ऑफ यू वुड हैव कम अक्रॉस. व्हाट डज इट मीन आ ला कार्टे? द रेस्टोरेंट सर्व्ड फूड आ ला कार्टे. You can select the courses in the institute a la carte. No, Aditya, it's actually very different from that. First of all, the spelling is B-U-F-F-E-T. Buffet. Buffet is spelled B-U-F-F-E-T, not B-O-U-F-E-T, right? And buffet is, in fact, opposite of a la carte. Restaurants में buffet and a la carte are completely different. They are the opposites of each other. Buffet में क्या होता है? आप सारा खाना आपके सामने रख देते हैं, आपको जाके उठाना है खाना, राइट. यू गेट एवरीथिंग इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू, आप सिर्फ उठाते हो. आला कार्ते, कार्ते मीन्स कार्ड और पेपर और शीट. कार्ते लिटरली मीन्स अ पीस ऑफ पेपर और अ नोट और अ कार्ड. हियर इट मीन्स मेन्यू. सो आला कार्ते लिटरली मीन्स फ्रॉम द मेन्यू. आपके पास रिटन चॉइसेस हैं, उसमें से आप सिलेक्ट करते हैं और वही चीज आपके सामने लाई जाती है. बुफे में सारी चीजें आपके सामने हैं, आपको उठाना है. आला कार्ते में आपको सिर्फ मेन्यू दिया जाएगा, लिस्ट दिया जाएगा, उसमें से जो आप सिलेक्ट करोगे वही आपको प्रेजेंट किया जाएगा. सो आला कार्ते लिटरली मीन्स फ्रॉम द मेन्यू. अला कार्ते, कार्ते मीन्स मेन्यू और रिटन लिस्ट. सो आला कार्ते मीन्स फ्रॉम द मेन्यू. डिड एवरीबॉडी गेट दिस? सो आला कार्ते मीन्स जो लिस्ट. सो अगर आप यूनिवर्सिटी में जाते हो जहां पे एक लिस्ट ऑफ कोर्सेज है और उसमें से आप सेलेक्ट कर सकते हो आपको कौन सा कोर्स अटेंड करना है. दैट मीन्स दे प्रोवाइड द कोर्सेस आ ला कार्ते. दैट इज फ्रॉम अ मेन्यू, अ लिस्ट. ओके, एड नॉजियम और एड नॉजियम, व्हाट डज इट मीन? द स्पीकर स्पोक एड नॉजियम. दिस टीचर is famous for speaking in the class ad nauseum. I hate when my friends starts talking about movies ad nauseum. Yeah. So nauseum or nausea. Nausea is जब आप you feel bad, you feel like vomiting, right? Nausea is that sensation where physically you feel bad, physically you feel like throwing up, physically you feel like vomiting. So ad nauseam, literally from Latin, means to the point of nausea, to a sickening degree. इस हद तक कोई चीज करना कि सामने वाले को उल्टी ही हो जाए, राइट? फिजिकली खराब लगने लगे, फिजिकली उसको ऑलमोस्ट वॉमिट टाइप लगने लगे, उतने हद तक किसी को बोर कर देना. सो व्हेन सम स्पीकर्स लाइक दैट बात करते ही जाएंगे, यू आर नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन व्हाट आर लिसनिंग, एंड द वे दे टॉक, it bores you to such an extent you physically become ill. So that is ad nauseam, which means to the point. It does not simply mean continuously, but it means doing something non-stop to such a degree that you actually feel bad, right? When you actually physically start feeling bad, that means something is happening ad nauseam, right? It is not just non-stop or continuous, but it is bad to such an extent that it sickens you. It physically sickens you. That is ad nauseam. वो बोरिंग से बहुत ज्यादा आगे चला जाता है. Okay. Who or what is an agent provocateur? Who or what is an agent provocateur? Many people in the media, many people think that media acts like an agent provocateur. Smart people act like agent provocateurs for the mindless masses. No, not a detective. Look at the word itself. Yes, Manush, exactly that's what it means. So agent, obviously a person who does something for someone else. Provocateur, say English में we get provoke, भड़काना या उकसाना. So agent provocateur, a French word, is literally an agent who incites or provokes others to illegal action. जो खुद गलत काम नहीं करता है, लेकिन दूसरों को गलत काम करने के लिए अगर कोई भड़काता है, वो खुद गलत नहीं करेगा लेकिन दूसरों को भड़काएगा. सच अ पर्सन इज नोन एज एन एजेंट प्रोवोकेटर. जैसे कुछ लोग होते हैं क्लास में, वो खुद आवाज मस्ती नहीं करेंगे लेकिन दूसरों को भड़केंगे, जा मस्ती कर, टीचर को डिस्टर्ब, ये कर वो कर. सो जो दूसरों को गलत काम करने के लिए उकसाते हैं, ऐसे लोगों को एजेंट प्रोवोकेटर कहा जाता है. डिड यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस? Agent provocateur is used to describe a person. Which type of person? A person who incites others to illegal action. Did we get it, guys? Did you understand who is an agent provocateur? Yes? Okay. Chalo. Next. Who or what is an alma mater? Who or what is an alma mater? Who or what is an alma mater? Not exactly Pranav, Manush. Not exactly. Not exactly Shubhankar. You guys currently may not have an alma mater. You guys may not have an alma mater. No, Zarna, it's the opposite. Yes, Pranav, that's correct. I definitely have alma mater. In fact, I have multiple alma maters. No, Dvija, it's not. No, Dvija, it's not. So, alma means something which is bountiful, something which is very prospering. And mater literally means mother, right? It means bountiful mother. But the word alma mater is used to refer to a former school. The school which you formerly attended. Any institution. School does not mean just school wala school. Colleges are also known as schools. Universities are also known as schools. School literally means an educational institution where you are taught. So any institution where you formerly studied, जो आपका पहला पुराना स्कूल था, that is your alma mater. If you are currently studying there, it is not your alma mater. Once you complete your education, once you pass out, then it becomes your alma mater, right? So the school itself is called the alma mater. It is not the degree, it is not the person. The institution, the school itself or the college where you once studied and now you have passed out, it is called your alma mater. So you are known as the alumnus of your alma mater. The school or college is your alma mater, and for the school or college, you will be known as the alumnus. Singular alumnus, plural alumni. For females, we use the word alumna. So alumnus or alumni is the ex-school, right? Your former school where you very previously used to study. You are no longer studying there. That is known as your alma mater. Did everybody get that? Dvija? Zarna? Alma mater. It's not a person or the degree, but it's a... So if somebody has changed schools, Like Sanskriti says, yes. So if you have changed school, suppose you have left a school and gone to a new one, then your old school is your alma mater. You used to study there, right? So that is your former school. That's your alma mater. Okay. What is an alter ego? Who or what is an alter ego? That's right, Pranav. Not exactly Yashvi. Yes. Dhruvi, Aditya. Yes. Akanksha, no. Urmi, no. A person who is very similar to you is actually called a doppelganger. A other person who is similar to you is known as your doppelganger. Alter ego, from Latin, is actually your own self, your own self, but it is your other or alternative self. It is your second self, right? आपका दूसरा स्वरूप जो है, that is your alter ego. For example, some people when they go online, they act out a character, right? Some comedians हैं, रियल लाइफ में कुछ और होंगे, लेकिन उनके लिए स्क्रीन के लिए उनका कुछ और नाम होगा, कोई और वो जाने जाएंगे किसी और पर्टिकुलर कैरेक्टर से, राइट? सो सच पीपल, the other self is your alter ego. Now, not exactly a great example, but think of the Hulk and Bruce Banner. Same person, but different personalities. Actually, it comes, the actual character of Hulk is actually from a very old classic called Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Right? It's another personality of your own self. Yes, Sanskriti. It is not a different person. It is another persona of the same person. So Hulk, like I said, is not a great example, but Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, it was actually the same person, but they had different personalities, right? So they were the alter egos. The same person, but as a different individual, they present themselves. That's the alter ego. Did everybody understand it? It's a concept of a same person, but another persona. Like, supposing while teaching, I don't go by my actual name. For teaching, I take another name. And I have a separate personality when I'm teaching. Then that means that is my alter ego. It is me, but as a separate person. That's my alter ego. I have no idea what Krish 3 is, so I would not be able to say. Batman and Bruce Wayne or Clark Kent and Superman, not exactly alter egos, but to understand, yes. But they're not exactly alter egos because they completely change. Alter ego is just your different personality. It's the same person, but you have a different you have different characteristics. The way you behave, the way people perceive it completely changes. So that means that's your alter ego. I hope you can understand that. It has more to do with personality than anything else. Okay. No, it's not role based, Yashika. See, as a student or as a brother, I'm the same person. I don't change. But when I have a completely different personality, right, that's my alter ego. For example, while online, I might go by the name, let us say, the ultimate professor. My name would, I talk in a different accent. I show myself as a different person. Then that is my alter ego. एक मेरा दूसरा स्वरूप है वो. That's my alter ego. See, as a teacher or a student, I'm the same person. That's not my alter ego. Alter ego is when I completely reinvent myself. I show a different sign of myself. Aditya, yes, you in front of your parents, if you are completely different, if you are almost a different person, that's an alter ego. It's not just behaving separately. It's almost as if you're a different person. Your alter ego, people who know one side of you may not even be able to recognize your second side. That is your alter ego. Completely different personality. Hope you got that, guys. It's a bit difficult to explain, but it's like when you are almost a separate, it is biologically you are the same person, but you almost are like a separate person. That's your alter ego. Okay? Chalo. What is au natural? Obviously French, but it means something, but in regular usage, it is used to depict something else. When you say someone is au natural, what do you mean to say? When somebody says, I saw him au natural, what did you see? When you see someone au natural, what did you actually see? Filterless? Yeah, yes. Yashika, this tech generation, you think in terms of filter and stuff. फिल्टरलेस का एक बेटर वर्ड होता है फ्रॉम द वर्ड इटसेल्फ. और नेचुरल इंग्लिश नेचुरल स्टेट. Natural, filterless, yes, natural state. But nowadays, whenever we use the word or natural, we actually use it to depict somebody who is naked, nanga, no clothes. So it actually means in natural state. But the way it is used in English, it actually is used to natural state means what? Natural state means in the usage it means without clothes, nanga, naked. So when I say I saw that person on natural, it means I saw him without not wearing any clothes. I saw him completely naked. So it technically should mean authentic Yashika, but English में उसका usage is for naked, नंगा. When you say I saw someone on natural, means उसको मैंने नंगा देखा. That's how the usage has become. The original meaning is simply authentic. But English में when you say on natural, you are not meaning he's an authentic person. You're actually saying he's naked. Did you get it? Everyone. The actual literal meaning is only natural state. But the usage wala meaning is naked. Okay. Who or what is avant-garde? Who or what is avant-garde? And please don't go by my pronunciation. Most of these words, I'm not even sure how to pronounce. I'm only giving you an approximate pronunciation. I'm sure those who know the language will be correcting me. But avant-garde. Yashika, yes, that's right. That's what it means. That's the usage wala meaning. Correct, Pranav. Yes, Yashvi, yes. That's exactly what it is used to indicate. So it's French, obviously. Garde as in guard, right? Guards. And avant means aage wala. So it literally translates into front guard. But in French, it means front guard. The usage is to indicate something which is unorthodox or experimental, unconventional, anything which is innovative, anything which is a new idea. Yes? So when we say he was an avant-garde painter, it means he was an unconventional painter, which means he used to paint in new styles. दुनिया से जो आगे है आइडियाज में, सोच में, जो कुछ नई चीज करता है, जो दूसरों से हटके जो करता है, such a thing is known as avant-garde. So when we say it is avant-garde poetry, it means it is not orthodox, it is not regular, it is not conventional. It is something which is new to the world. It is something which is innovative. So we use the word avant-garde. We use the expression avant-garde to indicate anything which is experimental, which is unorthodox, new. For example, taking classes on Zoom was avant-garde for me. So it literally means it is experimental, it is new, it is unorthodox, something which is not regularly done. So conducting classes online was avant-garde for a lot of teachers. That's what it means. Okay. Bête noire. Who or what is a bête noire? Who or what is a bête noire? Not exactly. And Shubhankar, it's actually the exact opposite of that. So noir means black. Literally in French, noir means black. And bête is animal or beast. So अगर मैं सिर्फ इसको translate करूँ, it means black beast. But what it actually means when we use it is a personal annoyance. Someone who is personally annoying to you. आपको जो completely तंग करता है, that person is your bête noire. जो बंदा आपको तंग करता है, that person is a bête noire. Someone who is constantly an annoyance to you. It's also called a bugbear. जो आपको परेशान करते रहता है. Such a person is called your bête noire. So Yashika, it's not actually an expression. It's not a feeling. It's actually a person. A bête noire is a person. Right? We call someone a bête noire. It could be an object, but when we say something or someone is a bête noire, it literally means he's a bugbear. He's personally annoying to me. Yes, Shubhankar, Yashika, did we get that? कोई बार बार आपको पूछते रहे ये हो ये करे ये क्या होता है वो क्या होता है. After a period of time, when you get very annoyed by that person, तंग आ जाते हो, you call that person is bugging me, right? You call him a bugbear. So the classical way of calling that person is betanua. He's my betanua. Means वो मुझे परेशान करता है, वो मुझे तंग करता है. Are we together, guys? Okay. Who or what is a blitzkrieg? Blitzkrieg or blitzkrieg? Some of you might have seen or read this word before. What does it indicate? Who or what is a blitzkrieg? Perfect, Siddharth. Shubhankar, actually, no, it's not an object. It is similar, but it's not an object. It's a strategy. It's German. Blitzkrieg comes from German. Blitzkrieg literally means lightning war. Blitz is lightning, Krieg is war. So it's a strategy where you suddenly and in a large number attack somebody. You attack somebody suddenly and overwhelmingly. That means एक बहुत बड़ी आर्मी को लेके suddenly आप किसी पे हमला करते हो. That type of attack is called a blitzkrieg. It comes from German. It means lightning war. It's a strategy where a large army suddenly attacks. That's called a blitzkrieg attack. It comes from German. So, guys, German के बाजू में DE क्या लिखा है? What is that? Yashika, no, it's not a concentration camp. No. It has nothing to do with concentration camps. Blitzkrieg is an attack strategy where you use a large force to suddenly attack somebody. Blitzkrieg literally means lightning war. Do you get that, Yashika? It's not a concentration camp. Concentration camp was basically a place where the prisoners were kept under harsh conditions. जैसे कि during Hitler's time, the Jews were all put in an enclosed place. So concentration camp was basically a place where prisoners were kept in poor conditions. Yeah. But Blitzkrieg, it's actually the attack strategy. Guys, no. Shubhankar, again, it's not ghetto. A ghetto is basically, it's like a juggi area, right? Like Dharavi, slum area. That's a ghetto. Ghettos are basically areas where people generally of poor economic, socio-economic strata live. A ghetto is not a prison. A ghetto is simply a place where poor people live in bad conditions. A ghetto is like a slum area. A concentration camp is a prison where people are kept in very bad conditions. Blitzkrieg has nothing to do with that. Blitzkrieg is an attack strategy. When suddenly you attack something with large numbers, that means you are blitzkrieging it. एक साथ हमला कर देना. Yes, like now I was asking DE, what does it stand for? Siddharth, yes, it's not exact. Deutschland is German. The Germans call their country Deutschland. Here, German, the language, Germany is Deutschland. The language German is Deutsch. DE stands for Deutsch. Like the country is German in English, but the Germans themselves refer to their own country as Deutschland. So the language that they speak, we call it as German. But the Germans themselves, they call their own language as Deutsch. So DE stands for Deutsch. Deutsch is the proper German word for German. Hope everybody understood this one. Yes? Chalo. What is meant by carpe diem? This is something which you are going to listen. People are going to say this to you. You may also say this to someone else. But at your age, a lot of people will tell you this. Carpe diem. What does it mean? Yes. Yashika, yeah. The movie Death Poets Society, Robin Williams, a lot of this, Robin Williams used to refer to this a lot. Yes. But what is carpe diem? What does it literally translate into and what does it mean? So carpe diem, literally from Latin, it means seize the day. Right? Make the most of the present. Diem literally, yes, diem is day. So carpe diem literally means seize the day. जो मौका है उसको make the most of the day. Right? उसका आजकल तुम लोगों की जनरेशन में you call it YOLO. कि ये हम क्यों करें YOLO? You only live once. So YOLO का the फंडा, what do you mean by you only live once? कि जो है, जो करना है आज ही करो. Because जिंदगी ना मिलेगी दोबारा types. Right? So ये सारे modern जो expressions हैं, they all come from the original expression carpe diem, which means seize the day. आज है, आज फतेह करो. Don't wait for tomorrow. Make the most of whatever it happens today. It's not winging it on the way. Sanskrit, it's not winging it. Winging it is more of ad-lib. Winging it means you are not prepared. जो आता है उसके हिसाब से आप करते जाते हो. दैट इज जस्ट जो होगा देखा जाएगा, जो यू आर नॉट प्रिपेयर्ड लेकिन आप करते हो. कार्पे डियम लिटरली मीन्स मेक द, इट्स एक्चुअली अ पॉजिटिव थिंग. यू आर टोल्ड कार्पे डियम, सो डोंट वेस्ट द डे, सीज द डे. मौका मिला है उसका भरपूर इस्तेमाल करो. दैट्स व्हाट कार्पे डियम मीन्स. कार्पे डियम इज नॉट विंगिंग इट. विंगिंग इट इज, आई होप यू अंडरस्टूड द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द टू थिंग्स, राइट. कार्पे डियम इज अ पॉजिटिव एक्सप्रेशन. लोगों को, बच्चों को कहा जाता है कि ये आज को बर्बाद मत करो, आज मौका मिला है, जिंदगी ना मिलेगी दोबारा, आज भरपूर जी लो, जी लो जिंदगी. इट्स इन दैट सेंस कि आज, कल का किसने देखा है, जो है आज है, जी लो. दैट इज कार्पे डियम. ओके, व्हाट इज कार्ते ब्लॉं? वी हैव सीन द वर्ड कार्ते बिफोर. व्हाट इज कार्ते ब्लॉं? एंड इट्स नॉट ब्लैंच, it's French, so it's blanc. Carte blanc. What is carte blanc? It literally means blank paper. But what is the meaning of this expression? Yes, Yashika, that's right. The translation is blank paper or white. It actually means, it's not blank, it's white card. Or blank paper is fine. It means blank paper or white card. But what does it indicate? If you have been given carte blanc, what have you been given? आपको कागज दिया है कि क्या दिया है? If somebody gives you carte blanc, what does it mean? What have they given you? My boss gives me carte blanc. Does it mean वो मुझे blank check? नहीं. Yes, Akanksha. Carte blanc in French literally means, now what does the expression blank check mean? In English also, when we say उसने blank check दिया है, it does not mean he has actually given you the check. It means he has given you total freedom to do what you want. So carte blanc or white card or blank check, blank paper, it means you have complete freedom to do. उसने authority sign करके दे दी है, उसमें जो लिखना है आप लिख सकते हो. So blank check means what? आप अपनी मर्जी का amount भर सकते हो. You have full authority to do what you want. So जब आपको complete authority दे दी है, आपको complete power दे दिया है कि जो करना है करो, that means you have been given a blank check. So we say you have been given carte blanc, total authority. Did you get that? प्रणव, fire क्या होता है? Carte blanc literally means full authority to do something. जो चाहिए आप कर सकते हो. I hope everybody understood this one. Then moving on to the next one. Chutzpah. I think 3-4 साल पहले कुछ मूवी शाहिद कपूर की आई थी where this word was made famous. Do you know where it comes from and what it means? Chutzpah. It's not chutzpah, it's chutzpah. What does it mean? Pranav, yes, but it's an extreme form actually. It's more than that. Shubhankar, that's precise. Yes, Zarna, it's more than what you have said. What you have said is right, but it's an extreme form. Same, Yashika, it's an extreme form of what you have said. Right? So chutzpah, and do you know the language of origin? Do you know from which language we have borrowed this word? No, it's not French. Although good guess, because we don't pronounce some of the words. No, it's not Latin as well. It's not Greek. It's not Russian. It's not German. It's a language many of you might not even have heard of, but it's a very common language. Yes, Pranav. Pranav Nandini, correct. It is still used. Paldi, what is Paldi? Paldi is a place in Ahmedabad. Hunch. Do you mean Pali? Pali was a script. Chinese, no. Mandarin, no. Pranav and Nandini have got it. It's not exactly Hebrew, but it's similar. It's Yiddish. The language is Yiddish. It's a language spoken by the Jews. Like Hebrew, Yiddish is also a language spoken by the Jews. And in Yiddish, chutzpah means gall or audacity. Right? He had the audacity to do something. It doesn't mean courage. It means overconfidence. ज़रूरत से ज़्यादा courage. Right? टणी जिसको बोलते हैं. Right? A very similar word in Gujarati is टणी. उसने टणी दिखाई. So he has chutzpah. It does not simply mean he has confidence. It means he has too much confidence. Too much confidence on the borderline of almost being arrogant. कोई बंदा अगर almost arrogant हो जाता है because of overconfidence, then we say he has chutzpah. It's not simply confidence. It's actually confidence to the level where you are almost arrogant. That's chutzpah. समझ में आया? What is chutzpah? Did everybody get this one? So now you can use this word in common language. अगर कोई ज़रूरत से ज़्यादा रोब झाड़ रहा है, टहनी दिखा रहा है, तो you can say, oh, he has too much of chutzpah. He's showing too much of chutzpah. अब सामने वाले को समझ भी नहीं आएगा आप क्या बोल रहे हो, except of course if he knows the word, right? It's a fun word to use. Chutzpah. Okay. Another fun word. Cojones. It's slang, language and meaning. It takes a lot of cojones to face the army in war. It takes a lot of cojones. Yes, it is. Mexican is not a language. Even Mexicans, the language that they speak is Spanish. So the language is Spanish. It is used to mean courage, guts, bravery. Correct. But what is the literal translation of the word? Does anybody know that? Yes, Sanskriti. You're exactly right. Yashika, yes. So, cojones in Spanish, es is España, right? Spanish is called España by the Spanish speakers. So, cojones, it literally means testicles or balls, right? And across languages, they represent the same thing. Even in Hindi or Gujarati, ये इसमें तो ये काम करने के लिए तो गोटे होने चाहिए, right? So I don't know why, but across languages, the male testicles, having testicles or cojones or gote is a slang to represent courage. I don't know why, but see how language is same across the world, right? The same physical part is used to show courage or bravery in different languages. So just like in English, we say you must have balls to be able to do this. So in Spanish, the word used is cojones. Sanskrit, why shouldn't you know this? Everybody should know this. This is just language. There's nothing wrong in it. And you guys are old enough to know it. So cojones literally means balls. But when you say that he had cojones, you don't mean to say that he has testicles. What you mean is that he has courage to do something, right? So courage, you use the word balls or cojones to show them. कभी-कभी adult चीजें हो जाती है, but we have to understand this because good or bad, they have started using this very regularly in speech. And if you don't know what it means, you won't understand what they're trying to say. So it's important to know that. Anyway, moving ahead. What's a coup de grace? Definitely French because half the letters I have not pronounced. But what is meant by a coup de grace? It's definitely French. No, Shubhankar. No, it doesn't mean fall from grace. It doesn't mean to hunt animals. It definitely doesn't mean good end. No, Akanksha, it's slightly opposite of what you're saying. That's exactly right, Sanskriti, you got it. Nandini, that's perfect. Not exactly, Yashika. So, grace, it actually means mercy. And coup is to hit. So in French, a coup de grace is a blow of mercy. It is used to show when you hit something to end it, right? Because if somebody is in pain, mercy is actually killing that person, right? If somebody is in too much pain, you actually kill the person to show mercy. So a coup de grace is a blow of mercy. It means the final blow to end something. So when you are ending something with a blow, that is the final act is called a coup de grace. Right? आखिरी चीज जो सामने चीज को खत्म कर देती है, that's a coup de grace. Euthanasia is not exactly a coup de grace because here coup de grace means a final blow or hit, stroke. Euthanasia means you don't hit somebody, you kill somebody, but you are not actually violently hitting or killing somebody in euthanasia. Coup de grace literally means violently hitting and ending something, right? For example, आप तलवारबाजी कर रहे हो और एंड में बंदा गिर चुका है, उसके हाथ पांव सब कट चुके हैं, राइट? लेकिन आखिरी में क्या करते हो? तलवार से उसकी गर्दन काट डालते हो. सो दैट इज कॉल्ड द coup de grace, द फाइनल ब्लो टू एंड इट, द फाइनल स्ट्रोक विच एंड्स एवरीथिंग. सो इट्स नॉट यूथनेशिया और मर्सी किलिंग. यूथनेशिया और मर्सी किलिंग में वायलेंस नहीं होता है, right? You kill somebody to show mercy, but you don't hit somebody. A coup de grace is actually a violent act to end something, right? Yes, Sanskriti, like the final stroke to end it. So euthanasia is not exactly a coup de grace. A coup de grace is actually a violent act. I hope you understood the difference between euthanasia and coup de grace. Coup de grace, violence is used to end something. Yes? Okay. Chalo. Next one. What is deja vu? Commonly used, and I'm sure many of you have also heard this. What? Yes, Pranav. That's what it literally means. That's exactly what it literally means. So, the translation is this. And Shubhankar, that's the exact explanation. Yashika, that's the exact explanation. Yes. So, it comes from French. No, Ansh, it is not repeating things, but it is the sense that something is being repeated. It is not actually something is happening again. But you only get a feeling that ye वापस हो रहा है. That feeling is known as deja vu. Deja vu or already seen means the sense that you get that you have already experienced this. If you're actually experiencing it, that is not a deja vu. But you think, आपको एक feeling होती है कि शायद ये पहले भी हो चुका है. That is a sense of deja vu. Did you get that, everybody? It is a feeling that you have already experienced it. It is not actually repeating things. It is the feeling that things are being repeated. Deja vu. Did everybody get this one, guys? Okay. Sanskriti says, jamais vu is the other way around. Means you have not, this is the, does it mean you're experiencing something for the first time? I believe it should be pronounced jamais vu, not jamais vu. French है तो आधा pronunciation तो ऊपर नीचे ही होगा. Does jamais vu mean you have never experienced it, experiencing something new for the first time? Is that what it means? I don't know. Sanskrit, I'm asking. Means that one has gone through something, but they still okay. Even if you have actually experienced it, but still when you do it, you think you're experiencing it for the first time. Does it mean that? Even if you have already experienced in the past, but still when you experience it again, you think you're experiencing it fresh. So that is jamais vu. Oh, okay. Thanks for that, Sanskriti. Excellent. Even I learned something new today. Yay. Okay. Who or what is an enfant terrible? I'm sure ऐसी कुछ pronunciation होगा. Enfant terrible तो नहीं ही होगा pronunciation. But what does it mean? उसका translation क्या है and how do we use it? Enfant terrible. What does it mean? Where is it used? Unconventional thing. No. One in controversial way. No. Yashika, somewhat. Jheel, that's the exact translation. That's the exact translation. No, Shubhankar. Not exactly. Zara, somewhat, yes. Zara, somewhat, yes. Zara, yes. But it is not, it means that, but the usage is more than that. So it's French. Enfant or infant is basically a young child. Terrible is bad. So a misbehaved child or a bad child is an enfant terrible. But we do not use it to indicate children. We use it to indicate people, often adults, who behave as bad children. Right? For someone who is behaving as if they are a bad child, we use the word enfant terrible. Generally, we use it for adults to say that छोड़ बिगड़े हुए बच्चे की तरह behave कर रहा है. So we call them enfant terrible. For example, just for example, many people think that Donald Trump's behavior is like an enfant terrible. Right? So the usage of the expression is for adults, but to indicate, for example, many say Salman Khan acts like an enfant terrible. So it means he behaves like a bad child. I hope everybody understood what enfant terrible means and how it is used. Are we together? Which example? The Trump wala? Jaisi jiski soch. Okay. To present somebody, I was presented with a fait accompli when the pandemic hit the world. many teachers and students were presented with a fait accompli when the pandemic hit. What does fait accompli mean? To be presented with a fait accompli. What does it mean? Yashika, it doesn't mean that. Exactly, Shubhankar. That's exactly right. No, Yashvi. No. Teaching online was a fait accompli presented to many teachers. Yes, Sanskriti. Correct. No, not exactly, Dhruvi. No. Deja vu thing that has already happened. See, to be presented with a fait accompli in French, it means an established fact, which means something where you have no choice. It is already established as a fact, you can't do anything about it. So I have no choice but to teach online. So I have been given a fait accompli, means it is a fact now that I have to teach online. There is no question of having an option or a choice. So to be given a fait accompli means to be given an established fact. जो fact established हो चुका है उसका आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते. You just have to accept it. So a fait accompli is an established fact, which means something which has to be done where you have no choice. It's not about consentment then, it's about choice. Right? Whether, sort of, but not exactly consent. I would rather say I don't have a choice but to do it. Even if I don't have, whether I have a consent or not, it's a matter of choice. I don't have a choice. I have to do it. That means I'm presented with a fait accompli. Yes. Oh, Pranav, great. Hobson's choice. Do you know, guys, Pranav has very nicely given me thing. Hobson's choice. Do you know what Hobson's choice is? What is meant by a Hobson's choice and where it comes from? Yashika says yes. So anybody, can you tell me what is Hobson's choice and where does it come from? I don't know, bread story. I'm not sure whether it is a bread story. At least where I've heard it, it's a horse story, if I'm not mistaken. Basically, Hobson was a stable owner. घोड़ों का अस्तबल था, and you could rent any horse from him as long as it was one near the door. So Hobson used to say, of course you can select any horse. The only condition is you, जो भी आप select करो, that should be the one near the door. So technically, is that a choice? If I'm saying you can take any horse as long as it is one near the door, that means I don't have a choice. There's only one horse which can be near the door, right? It's like when Henry Ford was asked, Henry Ford, the famous car person, when he said, do you offer color choices in cars? He said, yes, you can select any color as long as it is black. So that's a Hobson's choice, when you actually don't have a choice. बोलने के लिए सामने वाला choice दे रहा है, but in reality it is not a choice. You have to take it. That's Hobson's choice. Either yes or no, that are the only options. Did everybody get it? Aditya, was the bread story similar to what I said? Something else. What was that story? Bread wala. What story was that? Do you mean Baker's dozen? Where bakers used to give 13 pieces of bread instead of 12? That's called a baker's dozen. A baker's dozen is 13. पुराने ज़माने में they had to give, if they gave you less weight of bread, they can be punished. So what bakers used to do is whenever somebody ordered a dozen bread, they would add an extra bread in it, so that अगर वो 12 breads में weight कम हो जाए तो भी 13th bread की वजह से weight proper हो जाए. So when you go and ask for a baker's dozen, it does not mean 12, it actually means 13. A baker's dozen is 13. Yeah, that's baker's dozen. Fait accompli is no choice. Okay, chalo. Now this is something which you may have heard, and it's not fox pass. It means it is pronounced faux pas. Right? What is a faux pas? What is a faux pas? Yeah. Again from French, and it's actually for passengers. No. It has nothing to do with passengers, Shubhankar. No. For actually means false, right? For actually means false, and pa is step. So false step. It literally means a mistake or a social blunder, right? कोई सोशल एटिकेट को आप ब्रीच करते हो, दैट इज फॉपा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, लेट्स से यू आर इन अ पब्लिक कॉर्पोरेट मीटिंग एंड जोर से आप डकार लेते हो या गैस छोड़ते हो, राइट? नाउ इट्स नॉट criminally bad, but in civil society publicly you don't do it, so that means you have committed a faux pas. It's called it's an embarrassing situation where you have broken a rule of society. It's not a legal rule, it's not a criminal mistake, but it's something where you feel embarrassed. So a faux pas is a social breach of a social etiquette. Literally it means a false step. Sanskriti, no. Faux pas is used for a specific incident. For example, when Donald Trump walked in front of the Queen, he committed a faux pas. Because according to social etiquette, you're never supposed to walk ahead of the Queen. So when he walked ahead of the Queen, he committed a faux pas. That's a faux pas, a social mistake. Right? जैसे पब्लिक में आप जाते हो, भूल से शर्ट का बटन बंद करना भूल जाते हो या पैंट की जिप भूल जाते हो बंद करना. सो दैट्स अ फॉल्स स्टेप, दैट्स अ ब्रीच ऑफ सोशल एटिकेट्स, राइट? मैनर्स को आपने ब्रेक किया है. सो दैट इज अ faux pas. Okay. Who or what is a femme fatale? Who or what is a femme fatale? Who or what is a femme fatale? Sanskriti, very close. Yeah, see, a lot of these expressions are used as name for movies. Yes. So what does so if you know what the movie was, you will know what it means. Yashika, not exactly. Nandini, sort of, but something more than that. Shubhankar, no. Yashika, yes. Very close. Almost exactly the same. So femme, obviously female, right? Femme as in female. Fatale, something which is dangerous. So from French, femme fatale is used to describe any highly attractive woman who means trouble. For example, if you know the Marvel series, the Black Widow, character of Black Widow can be called a femme fatale. A dangerous woman. Very beautiful and very dangerous. So she's a femme fatale. It's used to describe beautiful women who are also dangerous, who are trouble. So beautiful women who are also trouble are called femme fatales. Not black woman, Black Widow. Sanskriti, seriously. The Avengers, Marvel movies. Scarlett Johansson. Have you seen the Avenger movies? Sanskriti. The first thing you have to do after you complete ball boards and entrances is please either read the entire you can't read it, their comics. Please watch the Avenger movies. Yeah, Yashika says Velas from Harry Potter. Sort of. That's right. Velas from Harry Potter. Sort of. Right? Okay. Chalo. Moving on. Who or what or why ply? And even the language from which they are from. Who or what or why ply? Yes. No. Amass means to gather something. Yashika, amass means to gather something. Jeel, yes. It's Greek. Yes, Pranav. That's what it means. No, Sanskriti. That's not. It doesn't mean too many. Hoi ploy. You're getting the sense, but that's not what it exactly means. No, Yashika, it's actually the opposite of that. Whatever you're saying, it's actually the opposite of that. So Vapalai is Greek and it means the masses, rabble, plebs, aam janta, mango people, right? जो आम जनता भुक्की नंगी प्यासी जनता है या मिडिल क्लास पब्लिक है, आम जनता जो है, the Greek word for that is hoi polloi, right? It's the opposite of elite society. Yashika, elite society is actually the opposite of hoi polloi. Hoi polloi is the other people. आम जनता जो होते हैं, the rabble, that is, or the plebs. They are known, the working classes, right? Middle classes, working classes. The opposite of the elite, that's the hoi polloi. And it's Greek. Okay. What is in flagrante delicto? A very classical phrase nowadays used a lot in law to describe something very specific. It's a very classy way of something very it's a very classy way of saying something not so classy. The husband caught his wife in flagrante delicto. No, it's not sexual harassment. It's not committing a crime. It is related to crime but not committing it. No. Shvankar, yes, that's right. So, flagrante comes from burning, fire, burning of fire. And delicto, obviously a wrong act or a crime. So, burning crime, it literally means in Latin, किसी चीज को अगर आपने जला और जल रहा है तभी आपने पकड़ लिया. The crime was blazing and you caught it. So you caught him in flagrante delicto. So it literally means caught in the act. Caught in the act. Not caught in a lie, but caught in an act, a physical act, right? To get caught range haathon pakadna, to get caught red-handed. But nowadays it's used for getting caught in a sexually compromising position. If the wife is having a physical affair with somebody else and the husband catches them in the act, right? The husband catches them while they are committing the act, then he has caught them in flagrante delicto, right? It is a colorful way of saying unko literally karte hue pakda. So that's in flagrante delicto. And no, Sanskriti, this term in flagrante delicto is actually an old term. Aajkal nobody uses it, but this was a classical English way of saying things. Nowadays nobody uses it. Nowadays it has become very crude, but a very sophisticated way of saying this. If you read old literature, you will come across this phrase. So it's not a new thing. It's actually an old thing which is less used nowadays, but it's a very classy way of saying it. Okay. In loco parentis. At school, the teacher acts in loco parentis. This should be easy to translate. In school, the teacher acts in loco parentis. So what is in loco parentis? That's right, G. That's exactly the translation and what it means. Yes, everybody's getting it right. So loco as in location. Loco means location, place. Parentis means parent. So in Latin, it means a guardian or a person who's in the place of a parent, right? So when you don't have a parent present, whoever acts as a parent is acting in loco parentis. The judge appointed his uncle to act in loco parentis. So in loco parentis means in place of the parent, somebody who acts. Literally it means a guardian. So it doesn't mean a second parent, Yashika. It means in place of the parent. Parent की जगह जो लेता है, that is in loco parentis, in place of the parent. चलो. What is ipso facto? What is ipso facto? Yes, it means by the very fact. It literally means in Latin, by the very fact. A teacher ipso facto is in charge of his or her class. So teacher को आपको openly अलग से बोलना नहीं पड़ता है. Automatically, teacher is supposed to be in charge of the class. So by the very fact that the person is the teacher, the person is also in charge of the class. So by the very fact, the fact that he or she is a teacher automatically gives them the authority of being in charge of the class. So ipso facto literally means by the very fact. ठीक है? Okay. What is joie de vie? Pronunciation से language तो पता चल ही गया होगा. Language of origin. What does it mean? Joie de vie. Yes, perfect. Very good. It literally means in French the joy of life. Zindagi ka anand. Right? The joy of living. Zindagi ka jo anand hai. The joie de vie. Life में जो मजा है, that is joie de vie. Did everybody get it? Joie de vie. जिंदगी में आनंद. जिंदगी का मजा. Okay. Who or what is a kamikaze? Hi. Who or what is a kamikaze? Hi. Kamikaze. Not Chinese, Jill. It's Japanese. and it's not an aircraft, just like Blitzkrieg. So the Japanese pilots decided to do kamikaze attacks at Pearl Harbor. If you know your history, it literally means fast wind. Kamikaze literally means fast wind. But kamikaze, it actually means a suicidal attack in Japanese. You attack somebody knowing that you are not going to survive. See, अगर आपको जिंदा लौटना है तो आप थोड़ा बच के फाइट करोगे. बट जब आपने डिसाइड कर लिया है कि मैं जिंदा लौटने नहीं वाला हूं, आई डोंट केयर इफ आई लिव, देन यू आर गोइंग टू अटैक विथ एक्स्ट्रा फेरोसिटी, राइट? जब आपको पता है कि आप बचने नहीं वाले हो, आपको जिंदा रहना ही नहीं है, then your attack will be very deadly, and that's called a kamikaze attack. So during the Second World War, when the Japanese were losing, what they decided was that the pilots in their planes will go and bomb Pearl Harbor, and they knew there was no way they could come back. So bomb गिराएंगे और फिर plane को ही ships के अंदर ठोक देंगे. That means they are going to die. So it was suicide. But for their country, they were ready to do it. So they were known as the kamikaze fighters or suicidal attacking fighters, right? So kamikaze, it is suicidal. Yes, Sanskriti. So there are many languages which can help you understand. The tone helps you understand what it is. If you know what it sounds like, you'll be able to know what language of origin it is, right? Italian is very typical. French is very typical. German is very typical. Similarly, Japanese is very typical. When you hear the language, even if you don't understand the exact words, the tone is enough to let you know what language it is. Yes. So did everybody get what kamikaze is? Chalo. Siddharth, yes, a suicide bomber is a kamikaze. Yes. Kamikaze literally means a person who is suicidal and attacking. So a suicidal bomber is a kamikaze. In English, he'll be called a suicide bomber. In Japanese, he'll be called a kamikaze. That's exactly right. Chalo. Moving ahead. Again, name of a movie. But what does it mean? Sanskriti, terrorists are not necessarily kamikazes. Only those terrorists who do suicidal attacks are kamikazes. In that particular attack, if they are ready to die, then that attack is a kamikaze. Most terrorists are not, because they are cowards. Most terrorists are not that, they don't fight, they actually do care for their lives. Right? So most terrorists generally are not strong enough to be kamikazes. What is La Dolce Vita? 9/11, yes, was kamikaze. Yes. Because the pilots knew they were going to die. So it was sort of a kamikaze attack. Yes. La Dolce Vita. Italian. Dolce literally means sweet or good. Right? When you say something is dolce, and it's not dolce, right? It's dolce. Dolce. So when it's dolce means sweet or good, and vita literally means life. So La Dolce Vita in Italian literally means the good life. Ash ki zindagi. Mukesh Ambani can live La Dolce Vita, a good life. Right? Masti ki aisho aaram ki zindagi. Billionaires lead La Dolce Vita, a good life. Yes, La Dolce Vita. So, Dolce. This we have already done before. What's a laissez-free? This we have definitely done before. What's a laissez-free? Economics, commerce. So, the implication is it's not survival of the fittest. It's actually policy of non-interference. You are free to do what you want. Nobody will interfere. Nobody will dictate what you are supposed to do. No external agency will have a control, right? So when nobody interferes, that is called laissez-free. You are free to do what you want. So laissez-free economics is where there is no strict control by the government. The market can behave in the way it wants to behave. So that's called laissez-free economics. So laissez-free literally means no non-interference. No interference from outside. What is meaning of crony capitalism? Okay. Do you know what is capitalism? Capitalism is where money is big, right? Everything is according to value of money, nothing to do with goodness of people or socialism. Capitalism is economy based. Everything is purely profit and loss. Now, what is crony capitalism? A crony is a person who is your dear friend, right? Crony is a person who is your dear friend. So when you give benefits to your near and dear ones, similar to bhai bhatijawad, right? When you do things good, आपस में ही 3-4 लोग मिलके आपस में ही benefit के लिए करते हैं, that is crony capitalism. Did you get that? Sort of nepotism, but capitalism oriented. Yes, Yashika. Sort of nepotism, but crony capitalism is when a small group of individuals are playing capitalism among themselves. That is my understanding of crony capitalism. Did everybody get this one? And laissez-faire. Okay. What is lingua franca? Hindi is the lingua franca in North India. French is the lingua franca in Europe. No, it's not mother tongue and it's not language of a nation. So very specifically I said Hindi is the lingua franca of North India. So lingua franca is Italian. It literally just means common language, right? Not national language, not mother tongue, not official language, but simply a common language. Commonly जो लोग use करते हैं, that is the lingua franca. So a commonly used language is the lingua franca. So English can be the lingua franca in many states. So if the most commonly used language is English, we can say English is the lingua franca. It literally means the common language, the most prevalent language. Yes? Okay. What is a modus operandi? In common language, we also call it MO. कई लोग इसको सिर्फ MO बुलाते हैं. इसका MO क्या है? So when they say MO, they mean modus operandi. But what is modus operandi? Correct, Aditya. Perfect. Modus operandi. Pranam, that's the exact translation. Very good. Yes. Very good. So like most of you are giving me very clearly what it means. Modus or mode or method. Operandi is procedure or operation. So in Latin, modus operandi literally means the method or procedure of operating. So if a criminal has a particular way of committing his crime, then the police investigates कि हमेशा इस pattern में चोरी करता है. So they say इसका MO या modus operandi ये है. So a specific method of doing something if a person has, that is known as the modus operandi of that person. A specific way of doing, the procedure of doing something. What is a nom de plume? Nom de plume. Pronunciation is atrocious, but nom de plume. Plume is actually feather. It's not exactly yes, Shubhankar, nom de guerre is alias. Nom de guerre is alias. But nom de plume has a very specific meaning. Plume means feather, and a feather is used as a pen. So a plume also means pen. So nom means name and plume means pen. So nom de plume literally means pen name. It's a French term. It means pen name, right? Authors, they sometimes use a different name under which they write. Like even J.K. Rowling's of Harry Potter fame used to write under a different name. O. Henry and Saki, these are not the real names of the writers, right? Even Mark Twain, Lewis Carroll, these are all nom de plumes. They are the pen names. They are not the actual names of the writers. They are the names under which the writers would generally write, right? So nom de plume. It's called a pen name. No, Sanskriti. J.K. Rowling में Joan is just the full J is just the abbreviated form of Joan. It's not a nom de plume, right? Joan K. Rowling is her actual name and उसका नाम उसने J.K. Rowling कर दिया है. But like Yashika says, J.K. Rowling, I don't know who Robert Galbraith is. Yeah, Robert Galbraith, yes. So Robert Galbraith is actually J.K. Rowling's. J.K. Rowling used to write under the name of Robert Galbraith. Like we call it Lewis Carroll, but Samuel Dodson is the actual name. Samuel Dodson used to write as Lewis Carroll. Or Samuel Clemens used to write as Mark Twain. So person when they write under a different name, that different name is called a nom de plume. Yes. Stage name, sort of. So just like actors may have a stage name, similarly writers, the name under which they write is called a nom de plume. It's called the name of the pen, a pen name. Nom de plume literally means name of the pen, right? Okay. Chalo. What's a non sequitur? What's a non sequitur? Nope. Shubhankar, no. Argument fallacy. That's too fancy, and I don't understand what you mean to say by that. Yashika. No. Manush, yes. The meaning is that. But what does it actually convey? Yes, Sanskriti. By the way, did you guys see the celestial conjunction? Did you guys see the celestial conjunction? Jupiter and Saturn and all the stars and stuff? Do you know what was the first, the name of the first animated film of Mickey Mouse? Do you know what is the first animated film of Mickey Mouse? Do you know which is the best dessert to eat when you go to Italy? Tiramisu is one of the best desserts to eat in Italy. Now, did you see what happened? I was talking about vocabulary. Suddenly celestial conjunction जिसका पिछले साथ कोई लेना देना नहीं था. Suddenly Mickey Mouse जिसका कोई लेना देना नहीं है. Suddenly deserts की बात कर रहा हूँ जिसका कोई लेना देना नहीं है. These things are not following in sequence, and that is a non sequitur. When suddenly you talk about something else which has no connection with what happened in the past, that means you're talking non sequiturs. When you say something which doesn't logically follow, आप गांधी जी की बात कर रहे हो और suddenly बीच में आप डोनाल्ड डक के बारे में बात करते हो, that's a non sequitur. There is no logical connection between the two. So did you guys understand what is a non sequitur? A non sequitur is when you're talking and suddenly you say something which has no connection with what you were talking. So that means you used a non sequitur. Did everybody understand what's a non sequitur? चलो. So non sequitur जो sequence में नहीं आता, literally something which is totally unrelated to what was going on in usual. Okay. Who or what is persona non grata? Who or what is persona non grata? I have no idea about Jack Ryan. I'm assuming that is some fictional character. I have no idea. No, Yashika. Akanksha correct. But the D is wrong. Remove the D. How use it in a sentence? Okay. After committing after he was thrown out from the country, Mr. X became persona non grata. I think that's the exact explanation also. Donald Trump may be persona non grata in the White House after Joe Biden takes up the presidentship. Yes, it's a person who is unwelcome or unacceptable. A person who is no longer welcome is persona non grata. किसी को आपने हटा दिया, बाहर निकाल दिया और बोलते हो you are no longer welcome. It is not necessarily evicted or banished. Legally, the person may have a right to come back, but you don't want that person to come back, right? You can't accept that person coming in, so that he is persona non grata. Legally, he may not be banished, but you don't want that person to come, so he or she is persona non grata. Not as in banished, but someone who is not welcome. वो खुद तो आ सकता है, but आप चाहते नहीं हो कि वो आए. That person is persona non grata. He may not be officially removed, but you don't want that he's not welcome. If he comes, you will not welcome him. So he's no longer welcome. Like जैसे हमारे घर में कई रिश्तेदार होते हैं, हम कभी नहीं चाहते वो आए, हम कहेंगे यार वापस मत आना, हम अपनी शक्ल मत दिखाना. So we declare that the person is persona non grata, no longer welcome in our house. जबरदस्ती घुसे तो अलग बात है, but we won't welcome that person. Did everybody understand who is persona non grata? Okay. Now, what is a pièce de résistance? Pièce de résistance. All fancy sounding words, and I'm sure I'm messing up the pronunciation of half these words. But when you read them, you get them. You need not pronounce them. So what is a pièce de résistance? Shubhankar, no. Yes, Sanskriti, that's right. So it does not have anything to do with the English word resistance. किसी के खिलाफ resist करते हो उसके साथ related नहीं है. Let's say the cake was the pièce de résistance of his birthday party. The cake was the pièce de résistance of his birthday party. Exactly. The talking point, the highlight, the most fancy thing, the center of attraction. Everybody is correct. It's French and it is a special food dish, or it simply is an outstanding item or event. Something which is the talking point, something which is the center of attraction, right? So, pure spread mein, the birthday cake is generally the most flamboyant, most fancy thing. So, that is the centerpiece, the point of attraction. So, it's called a pièce de résistance. Yeah, you wear something, but you wear one particular item which is the most extraordinary item and which is going to attract everybody's attention. So in your clothing, that is the pièce de résistance. Did you get that? Something which attracts, something which stands out and which attracts everybody's attention. The special item, that's the pièce de résistance. I hope everybody got this. Okay. Who or what is a prima donna? It's Latin, but who or what is a prima donna? First wife? No. No. The literal translation is that, but I want the usage of this. In what sense do we use this? Prima is first or main, and donna could be a large woman or a singer, maybe. But that's not how we use it. We say today even new actresses behave like prima donnas. So in English, when we call somebody a prima donna, who are we referring to? Today, yes, Yashika. Even the word that you have used, the original meaning meant the main singer. But now we use it in a different sense. When we call somebody a diva, we actually don't call them a main singer. We are actually intending to say that nak chade hain, arrogant and vain. Correct, Sanskriti. So even like that, prima donna from Latin is actually used to describe somebody who is temperamental and very conceited. Conceited means जो खुद को बड़ा तोप समझते हैं, खुद को बड़ा ऊंचा समझते हैं, right? मेरे को ये चाहिए, वो चाहिए, I'm the most important person, मेरे तरफ ही ध्यान दो, मुझे care करो. A person with such an attitude is now called a prima donna. Somebody who wants all attention to be on them. Prima donna. Attention, more than attention, attention seeker, thinking that they're important. Right? Attention seeker, they want it because they believe that they're the most important person. So that's a prima donna. So you call somebody a prima donna, you're actually not calling them something good. You are saying that nak chada banda hai, sar chada banda hai, sar phira banda hai. Okay. What or who is pro bono? I'm sure many of you have heard this, especially if you watch all those law-based Suits and other things. उसमें कई pro bono आपको सुनाई देगा. So what is pro bono? Simple to understand. Let's see who gets it one. Who gets this one? What is pro bono? Yes. So no, Zarna. That which benefits the general public, no. That's not pro bono. So pro bono in Latin literally means free. Something done without a charge. Something which is given for free. आप कोई केस लड़ते हो फ्री में, कोई फीस चार्ज के बिना, then you are fighting it pro bono. It's not necessarily for a social cause. It can be a private thing, right? It can be a private thing. Pro bono simply means that you are not charging a fees for it. You are doing it free of cost. That is simply what pro bono means. Pro bono simply means free, right? As a lawyer, you charge fees from your clients, but supposing you don't want to take money from them, you do it free of cost for them. Maybe because you just want to do it free, or maybe because they can't pay. In short, you are eligible to charge fees, but you don't take. You do it free. That means you are doing it pro bono, without charging. there's nothing in return. Donations are also nothing in return. So when you're giving money to somebody without anything in return, that means you're doing it pro bono. But pro bono is not generally in terms of money. Pro bono is generally in terms of service. When you provide free service, if you give money, we generally don't say that is pro bono. We generally, when we provide service without charging a fees, that is what we call as pro bono. Yes, did we get that? I hope everybody understood it. Pro bono kya hota hai? Like what Sikhs do in Gurudwaras. That is we don't call it pro bono generally. It is pro bono, but we don't call it pro bono. It is called volunteering, right? Pro bono is generally when professionals provide their service without charging for it. Now, what the Sikhs do, it is not their primary business, right? They do it voluntarily, but it is not their primary business. But a lawyer's primary business is fighting cases. So when a lawyer fights a case and does not charge for it, or if a teacher teaches without charging fees, or if a doctor examines without charging fees, or a surgeon operates without charging fees, when they provide their professional services without charging money, that is known as pro bono. I hope everybody got this one. Yes? Okay. Chalo. Guys, so we are done for the day. I'll obviously send across the PDF and stuff by end of day today. Any doubts, any questions, you can hang around. Else, we are done for the day. You can exit the session. Have a good day and stay safe.